Alright, so I made this video a day before I heard the notice, the breaking news of Errol Spence versus UGAS. UGAS, the WBA decided to let UGAS fight Errol Spence. So I said, alright. But I made this video here on Crawford and his opportunities. And within this video I made, I also said, in this realm, before I knew about UGAS and Spence, in this realm, at the time when I made it, it was talking about a little bit of what Spence have to do with his mandatory or his #1 contender, or what would happen if he didn't have that option of UGAS. So I said, should I erase it? Should I erase it? Because I just found out about UGAS and Spence. And I said to myself, nah, you know what? Let you hear what I said the day before about, because this was actually about Keith Thurman and Bud Crawford and Bud Crawford options. Bud Crawford options. This video was actually about Bud Crawford options, right? But since now we know we could get a UGAS and Spence fight in the beginning of 2022, and then maybe later on, well, in this video I did say something about #1 contender, mandatory, if Cody could be the mandatory, if not, if IBF makes Ennis the mandatory, what he would do, since he didn't have the UGAS on his plate. But he got UGAS on the plate. So, you know, I'm not going to erase the video. I'm just going to let it run, because this is actually about Bud Crawford and Keith Thurman. And let's roll the tape about what I said the day before I knew about UGAS getting the get-go to fight Errol Spence, and the WBA not blocking it no more. Yes, no more blockage. So let's see what happens. And this will be this video about Bud Crawford and Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, but just minus out the mandatory, the #1 contender, and his options if he had that options. Just minus that one out, but I'll still let it run. Run the track. Let's go, UGAS, let's go, Spence. Let's get it in, let's get it in. Let's get this third belt, Spence. Let's get this third belt. And if not, well, let the best man win. Yeah, you never know. All right, let's go. Let's hit it.
Because I dropped the ball, he doesn't have to see me today. Is he going to have to not see me ever? We'll see.
Do you think he's doing that on purpose because we weren't really entertaining a fight when he wanted it years back?
That's everyone's bottom line in the story. It's whack, okay? You would have got paid pebbles. Now you're going to get paid, you know, a big gold chest, you know. The value of Keith Thurman, the value of Errol Spence, the world recognition of who Keith Thurman and Errol Spence is bigger than ever. So the fight would automatically be bigger and better today than it ever would have been yesterday. So if you want to be upset of me being in a politically powerful position and not taking that step, but who Keith Thurman is not some up-and-comer who doesn't hold a lot of value. So to devalue who I am in this moment doesn't make sense. When I devalued you, your value was devalued. And that's me being honest.
If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. No machete or no Glock, and I'm still deadly. I like that, yo. Listen, man. Let turn this over. Black him out. I'm relaxing. So, where are we at now? And where do Keith Thurman fits into all this? Yeah. If you check out the thumbnail, you see Keith Thurman looking over there and Errol Spence looking back like, what you gonna do? Are you gonna block this fight? What can you do? And Bud on the other side like, that sounds like an opportunity. Another opportunity. Because they're only saying that Bud Crawford only has Josh Taylor as an opportunity. All right? But he also could have Keith Thurman as an opportunity. Because right now, you know, in Keith Thurman training camp and his coach and all this rah, rah, rah is saying he's not performing and he's not
you know, ending his training camps well and stuff like that. But I'm hoping that the man do what he's supposed to do and successfully beat Mario Barrios. Which, hey, Mario Barrios, hey, this is his second pay-per-view. What a lucky guy, right? On the condition of Keith Thurman, and he needs a get back. Yeah, and you know, like I said, styles. You could be the best boxer with the best style, but an opponent that has hunger could turn that fight into a fight. You know what I'm saying? So we shall see. Now this thing with Errol Spence remind me of Jerron Boots Ennis. Yeah. You know, when Errol Spence was coming up, he had no belt. He's a new fish in the pond, right? And Keith Thurman's like, get a belt. Sounds like something about what Errol Spence was saying to Crawford. Get a belt. What have you done? So the way I see it, I see Errol Spence and his situation with Boots Ennis. Now, Boots Ennis, he's the number one contender for the IBF, and he also could end up being the mandatory, depending on what IBF going to do. If the IBF decides to say, listen, you and Cody Crowley going to fight for the mandatory spot, well, that gives Errol Spence a chance to get back. Errol Spence a chance, a get back fight, which he said he doesn't need any get back fights because, you know, he's sure of himself, right? But where I'm seeing is if these negotiations between Bud Crawford and Errol Spence does not click, well, that mandatory spot, if it's Cody Crowley, he could fight. If it's Boots Ennis, I don't think he's going to take that fight, okay? But that's just an opportunity for him to get back if it's Cody, right? So this thing with Keith Thurman, was he ducking Errol Spence? I don't think so. He is calling Errol Spence out now, and Errol Spence is saying, man, you didn't give me that opportunity. And I'm going to do the same to you. So that opportunity is there for Crawford. If Keith Thurman gets done with Mario Barrios and do what he's supposed to do. If he still have more hunger and can perform well in training camp and get back on track. That's one, right? So let's say he's successful. He beats Mario Barrios, right? Well, like I said, you know, this thing is like a recycling thing, man. This shit's recycling. Everybody's story is like recycling. You know, just different faces, but it's recycling, man. And Boots Ennis, what have he done? I can understand that. Yeah, I would love to see that fight with Bud Crawford or Errol Spence, but this is what Keith Thurman was saying. Listen, man, I didn't give you that opportunity because listen, who was a bigger name? Sean Porter or Errol Spence? Sean Porter had a belt. Keith Thurman went with that belt, got that belt from Sean Porter. All right. Did some good ratings. I'll show you a clip of the ratings. Then he moved on to Danny Garcia. Got that belt, got injured. And I know Errol Spence, when he was coming up, one of his fights to get him on a good playing field was Chris Algieri. And I think that was 2 months after Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. Right? So I guess this is what I'm trying to say is the man is saying, I want to fight you now, Errol, and Errol don't want no part of it. All right. It's all good, man. It's all good. But like I said right now, Bud Crawford has an opportunity. If this fight does not go through negotiations, because we all know unification over Trump's mandatory. But if this is not going to happen in the beginning of the year, with Bud and Errol Spence, and they can't make nothing up, well, 2022 is a new year, and we could end up seeing that fight at the end of the year. Listen, the stalling game is always there with boxing. The stalling game is always there with boxing. So that's why I'm saying these options can happen. If the IBF decides to let Cody and Ennis fight, right? For the IBF, fine. Opportunity is not there anymore because at the end of the day, they busy, right? I laughing more than anything because when I sat back and I look, I'm like, damn, all this shit with Bruce Ennis coming up, it reminded me so much of Errol Spence. And Errol Spence going through injuries. Keith Thurman had his injuries. Errol Spence is coming back, and I'm just saying to myself, man, it's just, I sit back and I look and I'm like, damn, this shit is really ridiculous, but at the same time, it's funny. It's really funny. So now, when it comes to Bud Crawford, Josh Taylor is not his only opportunity. Keith Thurman is. If he gets successfully done with this Mario Barrios, I could see that fight happen before Errol Spence. That's an option. There's different realms to this. Different realms to this. So I'm seeing that fight that could happen. And Errol Spence do not want that fight, which I think is stupid. It's really stupid, right? I think he should fight the man. I think he should fight Keith Thurman if he beats Mario Barrios and everything's successful with Keith Thurman. Because, let me ask you a question. Let me go back. After he beat Danny Garcia, I think Keith Thurman had an injury, an elbow injury, and he was out again, right? Then he came back, right? Fought Jose Lopez. He had a get back fight with Jose. He just had that fight, right? And he almost got dropped in that fight. He almost didn't successfully beat Lopez, right? But he did. He got his due with that. So they're saying, well, maybe he could have fought Errol Spence then, but we all know, everybody say they'll take a Manny Pacquiao fight before. I'm not making excuses, but even Errol Spence said in his list, Danny Garcia, Manny Pacquiao, blah, 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 right? But we all know he went for the money fight, Bud Crawford. But you already know, instead of picking any of them, he'll fight Manny Pacquiao. So this is the same thing that's going on with Keith Thurman. And I'm saying Keith Thurman ended up picking Manny Pacquiao before he fought Errol Spence. And you can't blame him because guess what? Bud Crawford said, I'll pick Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence said, I'll pick Manny Pacquiao. And what do you expect Keith Thurman to do? While the Spence fans saying, you're ducking Errol Spence. You're ducking Errol Spence. So I'm just saying, facts over feeling. Did Keith Thurman duck him? No, he didn't. And you know why I'm saying that? Because now he is calling the man. He's saying, listen, man, before you didn't have a belt, before you was coming up. Let's just put Bruce Ennis here with Errol Spence. So let's see what Errol Spence fans saying about Bruce Ennis. What have he deserved to get that fight? The only way he could deserve to get that fight is the IBF put him in the mandatory spot and the clock is ticking. And yes, unification over Trump's mandatory, but if the contract is not signed, sealed, delivered with Crawford and Errol Spence, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So I could see Errol Spence, if the IBF put Cody Crowley in the #1 mandatory position, I could see him taking that fight because Errol Spence and Bud Crawford got two egos that's too strong and they headbutting with this contract. That's one. So I'm showing you like different realms what could happen. So I can see Errol Spence saying, okay. And I can see the numbers and how politics plays, that it could happen. I'm not saying it is going to happen. He could end up fighting Cody. He could end up fighting Cody if he's the #1 mandatory and he don't have to fight to be a mandatory with the #1 contender, Bruce Ennis. I could see that. And then maybe at the end of the year, because I remember Spence saying, man, you haven't fought nobody. You haven't fought nobody to Crawford. And what did Errol Spence say? Spence say, oh, you should fight Sean Porter. Now, Bud Crawford got a belt with the WBO. He fought Sean Porter. Those numbers didn't do so well. It didn't do so well. So let me ask you a question. If Errol Spence if Keith Thurman wanted to pick Errol Spence or Bud Crawford to fight right now after he beat Mario Barris, who would you think he would fight? I think he would fight Errol Spence. Errol Spence has a name. He has the belts. Keith Thurman's saying, listen, man, I wasn't fighting you then, but I'm going to fight you now. But if Errol Spence say, nah, you know, I'm not going to give you the opportunity because you didn't give me the opportunity. Well, it's the same thing when I'm hearing Boots. Would Boots say that? No, I don't think Boots would say that. You didn't give me the opportunity, but I'm going to. Keith Thurman was busy. He was busy with Sean Porter. He made good numbers. With Danny Garcia, he made good numbers. Right? Then he got injured. Then he went with Manny Pacquiao, did good numbers. So you can't say this man can't do no numbers. He was doing numbers with CBS, Showtime, and he did his pay-per-view with Manny Pacquiao and got $500,000. He had a good dance partner. Now, if Terrance Crawford was to fight Keith Thurman, yeah, that would help Bud Crawford and his numbers, right? He just beat Sean Porter, but if he's going to fight Keith Thurman, those numbers are going to go up a little higher. I just feel like that. But I think Errol Spence and Keith Thurman numbers will be higher than Bud Crawford and Keith Thurman. I feel that's a fact. And that's why Errol Spence, Keith Thurman's calling out Errol Spence instead of he calling out Bud Crawford. But Bud Crawford on this side say, yo, man, we ain't got to wait. Why we got to wait 8 months? Why we got to wait 8 months to do this? We could do this right now. We could do this right now. And Keith is like, yo, I need to. See, the thing about Keith Thurman, he did not lie. He said, I'm not coming off an injury fighting Errol Spence. This is what he feels. I'm not coming off a fight, an injury, elbow injury after fighting Danny Garcia and come straight into fighting Errol Spence. I'm not going to give him that respect. That's come out his words. Now, the words that's coming out of Errol Spence's mouth is like, I don't need a tune-up. I'm ready, and that's for boxers that's not sure. So the only way you could get out of that saying is the contract between Bud Crawford and you, Errol Spence, do not go through in the beginning of the 2022 year, and time is ticking and going along. And another reason IBF puts Cody as the mandatory. Now, as time is ticking, that mandatory you could use to get yourself back. Because, you know, all your fans are talking about, well, you know, his eye. I think he needs a get-back fight. His eye. But we're listening to Spence. We're not listening to the Errol Spence fans. And what Errol Spence said, I don't need no get-back. I'm sure of myself. That's it. So where we go here, I don't know, man. But I know that Keith Thurman is still a draw. Even though he haven't been doing anything, he's still a big draw. Look at this fight with they're trying to settle with Broner and Conor Benn. Broner got a name. Broner been there. He fought Pacquiao. He fought a lot of fighters. His name is solid, solidified in boxing. Was it 4 or 5 a fourth division champion like Danny Garcia? I mean, like Mikey Garcia. Sorry, not Danny. Mikey Garcia. Okay, which Errol Spence fought. All right, so this ducking game and all this situation, if the man say he wants to fight you, Errol, and you don't want it, I see Thurman talking about, I'll take your man. Keith Thurman is talking about, Errol, I'm going to take your man. And if that opportunity happens because y'all can't come up with a contract and get this shit signed, sealed, and delivered, well, I don't see where the Errol Spence fans, any of these fans should be mad that he didn't pick Josh Taylor. Bud Crawford didn't pick Josh Taylor, which he could, but he picked Keith Thurman. And what did Bob Arum say? It's a new day. And yes, it is a new day because Bud Crawford ain't with Bob Arum no more. So the man could do what he wanted to do. So that's all I'm saying in this. And I'll show you some clips of what Keith Thurman did with some numbers, solidifying himself as a pay-per-view attraction. Also on CBS, his numbers, his ratings, all that stuff right there, it is what it is. I'm also going to let you hear from the man about what the hell is wrong with Errol Spence and why he can't fight me. At that time you wasn't that name to fight. You was more of a high risk, no reward, right? This is like deja vu all over again, but with different faces. Same faces, but new prospects, new contenders with a new face that's a threat. That's the way I see it, man. So, Errol Spence fans, just to hope, like, what I would like to see is like, okay, like in my videos, I say I don't want him to get a get back fight. Errol Spence don't need a get back fight. He needs to just go straight into a fight. Look at Manny Pacquiao off 2 years. Look at UGAS off 2 years, 3 months, and fought Jamal James, and then Jamel James had 3-day notice to fight UGAS. All that stuff. And then on the top of it all, Errol Spence said, listen, I don't need no tune-up. So the only way he could get out of that statement, if Cody Crowley is his mandatory and Errol Spence and Bud Crawford can't come up with a contract. We ain't gonna wait a whole year at the end of the year just to see a fight. Something's gonna have to happen with Errol Spence in the beginning of the year if this fight don't happen. Do I want this fight to happen with Errol and Bud Crawford? Of course, I'd rather see that than Keith Thurman. I'd rather see that than Keith Thurman. I'm just being honest, man. I'd rather see that than Keith Thurman, but this is the stalling game, and you have to think about what goes on in stalling and what could happen. Because this is boxing, and politics, and pay-per-views, and ratings, and belts, and all that good stuff. So that's all I'm saying. Let's hope that, and Mario Barrios, he's a lucky dude, man. He has opportunities. Just like Isaac Cruz, he had an opportunity. You know, now his name is on the map. They trying to throw Ryan Garcia with Isaac. He's like the Sean Porter at that division to me. You know, the man keeps coming. He keeps coming. He put his name on the map. Regardless if you thought he could have beat Tank quicker or Tank could have beat him because of his hand. But like I said, his coach, his trainer, Calvin said he had hand injuries outside the ring doing training. That's at work time. And then he came back in and he finished Isaac Cruz in a decision. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. And hopefully we could get this fight with Bud Crawford. And that's why I made this video, to entice this fight to happen with Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. Not to entice this fight to happen with Bud Crawford and Keith Thurman. No. Just to say, listen, man, Keith Thurman could take your man, Errol Spence. He could take your man. Just like that, man. And guess what? Everybody's saying Bud Crawford doesn't sell. So wouldn't you want him to step up his game, Keith Errol Spence? For if y'all can't come together, wouldn't you want his name to be a little bit bigger? So you and Bud Crawford could make some more money in this fight when it do happen? The stalling game, you see what I'm saying? So we shall see how this goes with the IBF, because that's the decision. If it goes to Boots, I don't see him fighting Boots. I don't see Errol Spence fighting Boots. That don't make no sense, right? So you have to make, his back is against the wall. You'll have to try to make that fight with Bud Crawford. But if Cody Crowley is his mandatory, they make him mandatory right off the bat, and he don't have to fight. Cody don't have to fight Boots Ennis for that mandatory spot, and they just make Cody the mandatory spot. Well, I see an opening there for Errol Spence to say, okay, this shit ain't working out with Bud. I'm gonna fight Cody, get my shit on, right? Get back in that so-called ring rust, and then I can see Bud Crawford fighting Keith Thurman the next fight, if Keith Thurman can finish Mario Barrios off. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. Right now, I'm relaxing. What stays in my cup, what's in my cup stays in my cup. I'm relaxing, enjoying life right now. But I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just giving you things, these situations to read in between the lines of how these things could go, and not what you're feeling It's the facts and what could happen in the future between Keith Thurman, Bud Crawford, Errol Spence, and Bud Crawford. And this kind of video I'm making is just to push the agenda. Like, come on, dude. You know, a lot of people saying Bud Crawford only has one option. That's Josh Taylor. But he do have Keith Thurman. And if Errol is still on that time where he do not want to fight Keith Thurman because of some sissy shit, I don't know what it is, man. It just doesn't make any sense. I think that's not gonna, that does not make no sense. But you know what? I'll let you hear from the man about that situation. Also, I'll show you some clips about how well he did in his pay-per-views and his CBS Showtime ratings with his last opponents. So let's see what happens in boxing. I'm waiting, contemplating, waiting to see what happens, if this fight's going to happen in the beginning of 2022 or the ending of 2022. And if it ain't happening in the beginning, boxing moves on, and situations got to be happening. That's it. Yo, not here to change your mind, only here for you to read between the lines. Read between the lines. Get in the comments, hit me up, let me know what you think. Is Keith Thurman about to take Errol Spence? Man. Anyway, let me get back to my joint, yo. I'm out, yo. One.
Errol got my belt. I know, man. He got the belt. He's got him. You know, I was a unified, undefeated welterweight champion. Then I had injuries. Then I never got to fight EJ. Then he had a car accident. Now he don't want to say my name. Fuck Keith Thurman. Fuck Keith Thurman. Look, man. Whatever happened in the past is the past. We in a new year. We in a new year. Look, let's be real again. If you ever wanted to get at somebody, ever in life, like you wanted to get at them, you know what I'm saying? And then an opportunity comes where you can get at them, and all of a sudden you don't want it? What kind of fighter are you? What kind of fighter are you? You know what I'm saying? If I ever wanted to fight, and I got an opportunity, I'm going to take the fight. Example. When I fought Sean Porter, that's not when I wanted to fight Sean Porter. I wanted to fight Sean Porter a year before that. But his daddy went and made a comment, talking about some article, talking about all this yada, yada, yada. We don't have to fight Thurman right now. We're champ. Thurman don't got a belt. When he got a real world title, we can fight him then and unify. What happened to Porter? He lost the title. But when the opportunity came for Thurman to be in the ring with Porter, I always wanted that matchup. I always wanted that get. So I got it. So, you know, I'm just Keith Thurman, baby. I'm just one time. I'm not these other people out here. You know what I'm saying? So I can't speak for them. But if you ever wanted it, how does that fire and that passion, how does it just die out? I don't understand these fighters, man. I just don't. But look,